Welcome back to Sports Roundtable State News' sports podcast. I am one of your co-hosts, Jacob Smith, joined by my other co-host, Matty Horn, and guest Luke Joseph. Today, oh dear, we're gonna try not to cry. I'm just kidding. We're talking about. Oh yeah, Maddie might actually. She almost cried before the episode. We're talking about some sadder news with a lot of winter sports coming to an end around this time. MSU men's basketball, MSU women's basketball, and MSU hockey. Their seasons all just ended, but even though there were some tough losses, which we'll get to, there's still a lot to look forward to in the near future, but just a lot that kind of came down at the same time. But we're going to start with some MSU basketball because they, at least like some other teams on this list, exceeded expectations probably. So that was definitely a good thing. But their season just came to an end this past Sunday in a 70-64 loss to number one ranked Auburn and number one overall seeded Auburn at that point. What did you guys see? Because this game hurt a lot.
You know what? The one thing that I can be thankful about for this game is our loss was not as bad as Michigan's. Michigan lost by like 16.
Yeah.
Michigan lost by double digits. We only lost by 6.
Yeah.
So I'll just say that. But you know, we started the tournament, and every single game we played down in the first half and came back. We should have known that wasn't going to work against a team like Auburn.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah. I mean, with all like the sad news going around this week, it makes sense that on the day of the podcast it is raining outside. You know, but I mean, it was a good season. Yeah. I definitely didn't have this team going to the Elite Eight, and you know, this team proved me wrong. So I can say that, you know, being proud and being happy as a fan of Michigan State basketball, but you know, it just sucks the way that they went out, because it's, you know, being down 6 at the end of the game, it kind of looks like we were competitive, and we were, but it definitely felt like Auburn was in control that entire game, even when Broome went out with like his hand injury. Even then, I mean, when he came back, he instantly hit a three.
You knew that was going into it.
Yeah, so
there was no way it wasn't. Yeah, I mean, like, this game was so disappointing because it was like, not in a way that it was just a bad game overall, but Michigan State was so close the entire game. Like, they were pretty much down 10 the entire game. Multiple times they cut it to 5, but like they never led the entire game. So, like Maddie said, like, you're not gonna play down to Auburn and kind of expect to come back like you did against your first 3 games in the tournament. But I also think that it's no shortage to say that this is one of like the best, or if not like my favorite Michigan State seasons of all time. Even though it didn't end with a banner, this team was unranked to start the season, went to the Elite Eight, and went toe to toe with the number 1 overall team in the country. I mean, give the flowers where they're due. I think this was such a great season. And I mean, we still got to hang a banner. Like, it's not like it's not like this team went unnoticed. We still won the regular season, and that's, I don't remember who, some sports person out there was saying, like, Michigan won the tournament. We won the entire Big Ten. Like, there's a difference between, and that's why I am constantly saying, and I know that a lot of other people agree with me on the fact that winning the Big Ten regular season title is way more important than winning the Big Ten tournament title. Yes.
Because sometimes you get lucky. Like, that's what was happening with Notre Dame in the Michigan State hockey Big Ten tournament. Like, you see these teams go on runs and they get hot because they don't want their seasons to end. So they win in the tournament. You can't do that with the Big Ten regular season title. You have to be playing consistently, playing your game the entire season, and that's what Michigan State did. So it's not like this team never went unnoticed. I mean, you take them to the Elite Eight, like, that's huge. And we could have beaten Auburn if we weren't playing the way that we had the last 3 games that we'd played. But yeah, you know what? And my motto is, if you want to beat us, go all the way. Win the whole thing then.
Yeah, I mean, I think Auburn can win the whole thing.
I think they can too.
You know, I in my bracket, I do have Duke winning the whole thing against Florida.
That's how our group one was too.
Yeah. I mean, Cooper Flagg is he's
unreal.
He's the best player in college basketball as a freshman, and if he wins the national championship, wins best player in college basketball award. I don't think that's been announced yet. I know Juju Watkins was actually just given that award earlier before the show started.
Poor Juju.
Yeah, poor Juju. But if Cooper Flag wins that and the championship and like the MVP of that championship, I think there's a legit argument that he could be one of the greatest Duke players to ever exist.
Yeah, I feel like he already is.
You kind of have to add in the AAU Sullivan Award, too, which goes to the most prestigious collegiate or Olympic athlete, and he's one of the nominees for that.
Is he really?
Yeah.
Wow.
It's him. There's a girl from Nebraska, Trey Augustine. I think there's an Olympic gymnast. I don't know. There's 6, I think. There's 6 finalists, and Cooper Flag's one of them.
If he was to win that, then it would probably be one of the greatest college basketball seasons we've ever seen.
Yeah.
And that's also including the fact that he leads Duke in points, rebounds, assists, blocks, and steals, and I believe field goal percentage.
Yeah.
He's unreal. He's unreal. So, yeah. That's going to be cool to... I mean, you have 4 number 1 seeds in the Final Four. When was the last time that happened?
Yeah, I just saw it the other day. It was like 2008, I believe.
2008 or 2009.
It was. I'm
It's
pretty sure it was 2008. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's the second time in history.
Yeah.
Really?
So yes. So 2008 was the first time. 2025 is now the second time. But if you like good basketball, I think it's good because most of the time, like having a great upset Cinderella run is the most fantastic thing in sports. There's nothing like it. And a lot of the times we've seen that recently. Like we've had 11 seeds in the Final Four. We've had like some 15 seeds make the Elite Eight, like St. Peter's. But if you really like true toe-to-toe basketball, winning basketball, you're going to get some really good games this upcoming weekend. And also in the Elite Eight, we had some really good matchups, which was nice that MSU was a part of it. So to even be in that conversation, I think, as one of the elite teams in college basketball to close the season, definitely a great honor. But one point I want to make is that MSU like really had one true weakness all year, and that was shooting the basketball. I know in basketball that's probably not what you want your weakness to be, but MSU couldn't really overcome it, and they've started slow before in past seasons, and they've kind of overcome it a little bit, but it was always their knock this year, and it came back to bite them in the butt. This game against Auburn. I mean, I just want to read you off some of these shooting numbers because these are really ugly. Jaden Akins shot 6 of 17, which I know doesn't sound like the worst thing in the world. 3 of 10 from 3, but he had 3 3-pointers in the final 2.5 minutes of the game. So if you adjust those stats, that's 3 of 14 before the final 2.5 minutes and 0 of 7 from 3. Trey Hoffman shot 0 of 10 and 0 of 5 from 3. Jeremy Fear shot 1 of 4, and Jace Richardson shot 4 of 13, which also came with 0 and 2 from 3. So those are all your guards, and 3 of those 4 guys are like your top scorers on this team. So MSU had a 34.4 field goal percentage and shot 30.4% from 3, which I know also doesn't sound bad, but MSU also had 4 threes in the final 2 minutes, whatever.
Yeah.
So, like, knock them all you want. That was MSU's biggest weakness. It really came back and haunted them, and that was really one of the big reasons why they lost. They couldn't finally get over that hump. Auburn didn't shoot great either. Like MSU shot better than Auburn did from 3, but Auburn was still very present on the defensive side of the ball, rebounded really well, and didn't allow Michigan State to get a lot of second chances. But I think that was definitely one of the main reasons that Michigan State lost this game.
I feel like that's been a weakness of ours for the past couple seasons now too. Like I feel like that was a big topic of conversation last year, especially during Michigan State basketball season, is we cannot shoot.
Yeah.
Like.
And we have good shooters.
I mean, we have Jace Richardson.
Jaden Akins as well.
Yeah.
Akins,
like
we brought in Frankie Fiddler because he had the ability to shoot. I mean, at Omaha, I don't know the exact points per game stats, but it's like 20 something. Like he was, scoring from the 3. He could hit a mid-range shot. He could drive to the basket. He could get to the free throw line, and that 3-point shooting. He could hit a 3-point shot, but he just wasn't that elite shooter that we thought
had hoped.
That we had hoped.
And for how high of a volume I think these guys shoot at, it definitely kind of stinks. But like I said, I feel like past teams have kind of overcome this a little bit as the season goes on. This team really just never could. And there was a sequence in the game. I don't know if you guys remember, but it was 20-8 Auburn. It's like early in the first half when they started going their run or whatever, and Michigan State was a little bit rattled trying to answer. I want to read you these 2 sequences real quick because this is just peak comedy. Starting at 11 minutes and 38 seconds left in the first half, Jaden Akins missed layup. Jackson Kohler offensive rebound. Trey Holloman missed jumper. 3-point jumper. Jaden Akins offensive rebound. Jaden Akins missed 3-point jumper. Trey Holloman offensive rebound. Jaden Akins missed 3-point jumper. Auburn then went and had another possession where they didn't score. They came back down the floor.
I remember that.
Jackson Kohler defensive rebound. Trey Holloman missed 3-point jumper. Cohen Carr offensive rebound. Cohen Carr missed 2-point shot. Jackson Kohler offensive rebound. Trey Holloman missed 3-point jumper. And I think that was the one where it had nothing but bank.
I think, watching that is like heartbreaking in a way, but having you read that aloud, I think that's heartbreaking in and of itself.
Yeah. I remember that now vividly because I was like, what is, like, they were hitting the rim every single time. Like, I don't remember who shot it, but it just went, whoop, and right back out. What is happening?
I know. You felt like one had to just go in at some point.
Nope.
That's how the entire game fell. And then, of course, in the final 2.5 minutes, like I said, like 4 threes went down, 3 from Akins and 1 from Kohler. And I'm like, where is this the entire game? Like, I know the circumstances were different because I think Michigan State, as bad as their shooting was, I think they were also really rattled this game because Auburn had such a huge crowd there because the game was played an hour outside of Auburn's campus. So naturally, you're going to get a lot of draw there. All their fans are going to make the drive and travel to Atlanta to watch that game. So I think like they were really loud. When watching the broadcast, you could definitely tell that it was a crazy environment in there. So I think Michigan State got rattled a little bit because even though Jaden Akins and some guys have some experience, this team's still very young and not a lot of deep March Madness experience. So I think that came into play as well.
Very inexperienced. Like, we've been to the tournament. Like, these guys have been to the tournament every year, but it's just never really gotten all that far, like, to an elite. Like, we went to Sweet 16 two years ago. Yeah, but that was, like, with Tyson Walker and A.J. Hogarth and Malik Hall. It's like those guys have already left, and
they've been around the block a few times, and now
like Kohler and Cooper were there, but like I don't remember them
minutes.
I don't remember them playing all that much.
And then like Cohen Carr, Jeremy Fears, Xavier Booker even all came in 2024, so they were part of the round of 32 exit last year, and then now this is the furthest they've been in a while.
Sweet 16 experience was Jaden Akins.
Yeah.
And
that was sad because I didn't want to see him go out the way that he did. I'm glad that he made those shots in the end, even though it didn't really matter. But I mean, like I said, he was pretty much 3 of 14 and 0 of 7 from 3 before he made those shots. So like, I didn't want to see him go out like that because he is such a good player. His defense really is one of the most underrated aspects of his game.
Oh, absolutely.
Put it on display all year. We knew he could shoot the ball, but sometimes he struggled with just the consistency. But as bad as the shooting was, I think, like we said, we have to be proud of this and how this season ended because there's plenty of momentum going into next year. But also at the same point, which we'll get to in a little bit, that momentum kind of collapsed a little bit. But the last thing that MSU couldn't do was stop Janai Broome as well. He had 25 points and only missed 3 shots with 14 rebounds. He had a double-double in the first half. So just I know Auburn's age and experience definitely came into play, but MSU, I think, just ran into a bad matchup. And, like, Auburn just had more talent.
Yeah.
They had more shot makers. Janai Broome was the player of the year for a reason. Yes.
Well, we kept making the joke that like everybody on their roster was like 23 years old, like
because they have
we just have a bunch of babies, and they've got
their starting lineup has a older average age than the Oklahoma City Thunder.
Yes, it's true.
And that's a professional basketball team.
It's true.
So
I know. I mean, respect it, but
I have a question. Was it an April Fool's joke that Hunter Dickinson can come back for a 7th year?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, that was a
Thank you.
Yeah, he's not coming back.
Thank you.
Yes.
And after the season that Kansas had, I don't think they want him back.
Yeah, that experiment didn't work out too well.
I saw something and it was like Hunter Dickinson has entered the portal and is eligible for a 7th year, and I was like, "There's absolutely no way I'm gonna rip my hair out."
Yeah, that just doesn't work.
No.
But yeah, that's actually a funny segue into what we're gonna talk about next with Michigan State basketball because all the news that we're gonna talk about just came out on April Fool's, so
That's
not very fitting. Yeah,
It's not a very good April Fool's joke.
Yeah, this was a very very sad.
It was.
This didn't even feel it. It just felt like April sadness. Like this was not a good, not a good segue to the beginning of the month. But if you guys are not familiar with what we're talking about, MSU's roster next year is going to look a lot different than it just did with this Elite 8 run. 3 players entered the transfer portal yesterday as the time of recording this. So guard Garrick Normand entered the transfer portal. Forward Xavier Booker entered the transfer portal, which we both kind of expected. And then guard Trey Holloman entered the transfer portal, which really came out of left field. This was something I scratched my head on.
That was the first one to break too.
Yes, I saved it for last just because of the suspense. But
Yeah, it was
that one
him
came
and then
first, and that
Norman
was
and then Book. Yeah.
really, really surprising. But what do you guys initially think about that?
I had this conversation with one of my friends from Spartan Sports Support before class yesterday, and it was when you enter the workforce, you're probably going in at the lowest paying job that you have. If you get an offer for a different job that pays more, what are you going to do? You're going to take it.
Yeah.
That's probably exactly what Trey Holloman did.
It's hard to blame him, too.
Yeah.
It's extremely hard to blame him. I mean, that's such a tough situation. Like, college basketball is not the same as it used to be. It's all about the money. It's all about where you can go, that you're going to get paid, that you're going to get playing time to get paid.
Yeah.
And
I mean, it's, it sucks. I think that, it's, I don't think anybody here blames, Booker, Norman, or Holloman for entering the portal, because they, Norman and Booker especially, they just weren't getting, the reps or playing time. And I think they just want to be able to play. Booker has 2 years left, and Norman has 3 years left because he redshirted his first year. So I think they just want to be able to play. I think I hope that Holloman comes back, but at the same time, I think he wants to be able to start. I know he accepted his role and was a team captain, coming off the bench, but it being your last year, I don't think anybody would want to come off the bench your last year.
Yeah, I mean, like we kind of said, we don't blame him one bit, because while you're playing in college, go make your money.
But if I when I see people who criticize basketball players for jumping in the portal, that gets me upset. I'm going a little bit off script here.
Well, it's a hot take.
But it's if you guys are judging them, online, hiding behind your phone or behind your laptop, criticizing them for jumping in the portal, I could guarantee you 100 out of 100 people who say that they're weak or soft for jumping in the portal, they would do the exact same thing if they were in their shoes.
They have no idea what it's like to be a college athlete.
Right. It's weak, and it's a little pathetic.
I agree.
It's, you have no idea what these players are going through, at home or just in their head. I think that anybody would take the opportunity to, get the bag that I think that they deserved, and that I think everybody thinks they deserve, because college players have never been able to make money until 5 years ago.
Yeah.
So, it's something that they need to take advantage of, because it's sooner or later, I think the NCAA is gonna start regulating it. I
hope they do.
Hopefully, because I don't like how it is, but it's the NCAA. They designed it this way.
Yeah.
They said that, okay, you guys can get paid. You can't blame us anymore.
Yeah.
And I don't blame the players one bit for trying to take advantage of it.
Yeah, I don't either.
Go get your money. You deserve to be paid.
Yeah, and I agree with you, but I think, like you're saying, the NCAA is also not the most fully functional organization that's out there. So
I hope they make changes to the portal. I'm sorry to cut you off, but
good.
I hope they make the changes. But at the same time, I don't think either of us expect those changes anytime soon.
Yeah, it's hard to really forecast that and give a time frame of when that's going to come into play. But I think obviously the biggest problems is that NIL can kind of be thrown out anywhere. The whole idea of NIL, name, image, and likeness, was that players can make money off of their name. That's kind of what it says in the name. So jersey sales or video game sales or even endorsements, that all makes sense. I just think the reason that NIL is a little bit kind of all over the place right now is because coaches and donors and past players are able to donate to their school and essentially just pay for players. It feels like it's the MLB in a way, where there's no salary cap and the teams that have the most money are able to throw it out and just do whatever they want. And also, I feel like transferring, we've seen players bounce from probably 4 or 5 different schools in their entire career. So I think if you want to limit this, I'm not saying this is a bad thing because, like we said, Trey Howman deserves to be paid, and these other guys deserve to be compensated for the time that they put in, especially as a college athlete.
Yeah.
But I feel like there should be rules on how often you can transfer as well. And if you're going to transfer, you should have to sit out for a period of time or a year, because, especially if you do it more than once, just because, like, it's unfair to these programs, these coaches. Like, the whole idea of college sports about 10 years ago was you commit to a school, you grind your tail off, and then you finally get your chance to play and cement your legacy. If you're good enough to play as a freshman, you are. But
you have to earn your way. You have to earn your way into that spot. You don't just immediately walk onto the court and say, "Ooh, me, I'm good."
Exactly. And I know that's what recruiting is as well. But that's also.
That's how it should be. But it's like at the same time, there are a bunch of players coming out of high school who do get promised by coaches that, hey, if you come here, you're gonna start. And it's like this is not sort of related to that, but it's the UNLV, I think it was UNLV, the quarterback, he transferred from like a smaller school. He transferred over to UNLV, played 3 games as the starting quarterback, and he wasn't paid. And he was paid like $5,000 for as he was promised $100,000. So I think that it's also comes down to, the coaches and the donors, like they kind of promise these young kids like more money than I think you and I will make in 50 years or in our lifetime. Yeah. And it's like they don't get paid, so it's like they kind of feel like they're screwed over.
Yeah, I'm going to jump ship for a second too, going back to the coaches are promising you a spot. That's why I go into hockey a little bit. That's why I respect Adam Nightingale so much, is because every single player that he recruits, he tells them, I'm not going to give you a spot on the starting lineup. I'm not going to immediately put you into the game. You have to earn that. Yeah. Like, you're not... Trey Augustine had to earn it, and he's the best American-born goaltender at his age in the country. Like... Yeah. You have to earn those things. Patrick Geary didn't start for the first month and a half. He didn't play for the first month and a half, and then got an invite to the World Juniors and then got drafted in the 6th round the next summer. Like, these guys have to earn these things, and I think that goes for every single sport out there. Like, you should not just immediately be promised that you're getting a spot on the starting lineup. That's not...
And I think that's how what Izzo, and I think that's what Jonathan Smith are doing with the football and basketball programs, but that's kind of the outlier. I think that most college programs, they're looking at kids, in high school, they're seeing the 5 stars, the 4 stars, and it's like, I think you'll be able to play on our team right away. We think you're that good. And they get to campus, they start going to practices. It's like, all right, coach, I've been working my tail off in practice. It's like, am I going to be in the starting lineup? Like, you kind of promised me. It's like, no, you're an eighth man. You're a freshman. Don't talk to me.
Yeah, but it's a good thing because you don't learn to face adversity any other way than kind of be told that you need to work harder a little bit. And I definitely think that's a good thing. But kind of going back to this Trey Holloman situation, like, I just have a feeling that Tom Izzo's not going to buy this if he even wants to return, because Tom Izzo's built his entire program on all the principles that we just talked about.
He hates the transfer portal.
That's why he doesn't use it, and he doesn't like to use it.
Right. Now he's going to have to use it.
Yeah,
I was going to say that's why he's barely dipped into it. I mean, last year we had 2 guys from the transfer portal, Simone Tapawa and Frankie Fiddler. That's it.
Yeah, and I think it's a good thing. Because,
I think it is too.
Like, it shows how traditional he is, and like he doesn't want to have to keep up with the times if he doesn't have to. But also to the same point, I feel like at this point in time,
you kind of have.
He kind of has to change his philosophy a little bit, and whether this drives his interest for the game out and like accelerates his retirement in a way, it might. But Trey Holloman was like such a Tom Izzo, Michigan State Spartan dog guy, like one of our glue guys. He was like, we were talking about him like wanting a spot next year. Like, he was probably slotted to start as a senior, probably a captain. Like,
he was a captain this year.
Exactly. So he's probably going to start next year as one of the main focal guys on Michigan State's roster, which is why it just doesn't make as much sense. I know money plays into a factor, and these guys are as old as we are, trying to figure out their entire futures for 4 years, which I totally get how that can really play a factor. But It's just the Trey Heilman one really puzzles me. And Garrick Norman, Xavier Booker, like, I know they didn't play as much, but I feel like Booker and Norman's situation makes a little bit more sense for the transfer portal. I feel like that's what it's supposed to be utilized for. Like, if you know you're not going to play, Booker was the number 1 overall recruit in the country in his class at one point, and he just hasn't panned out. So sometimes people need a change of scenery. Like, for his sake, I totally get it. Garrick Norman, I totally get it as well. But it's just the Trey Heilman one was really puzzling to me, and it'll be interesting to kind of see where that goes.
All three of them, they're not from the state of Michigan. Like, even though Heilman and Booker are like Midwest guys, Heilman, I believe, is from Minnesota, and then Booker's from Indiana. Like, he's from Texas. That's like a whole different environment. So, there's a possibility of, him going closer to home. All three of these guys they just might be homesick.
Yeah, you got to factor it in. It's definitely a good point.
It's just a big possibility. But we don't know.
Right.
So, and I don't think we're gonna know.
I don't think so either. But
just have to see how it really develops, because the transfer portal is a devious game, as we've kind of seen. But
the portal.
Oh gosh, the portal.
The portal.
Oh my god, it really, that's how it feels. It feels like some like psychedelic.
It's like a black hole.
It literally, and like you can get sucked into it at any point in time, and you don't know it. But for the sake of time, like, I was going to talk about like next year's roster, just because it has a lot of turnover. But I want to move into other segments just because of the sake of time. But last point on this. MSU's projected returners in 2025 to 2026 is looking a lot different. So now, based on who's graduating and the transfers right now, we only have 8 guys projected to come back, which would be Jeremy Fears, Cohen Carr, Jackson Kohler, Carson Cooper, Jesse McCullough, Nick Sanders, and Kurt Tang. I actually just read off 7, so my bad.
Nick Sanders.
Nick Sanders might have to get playing time at this point. And then 2 incoming recruits being 4-star Cam Ward and 4-star Jordan Scott. So this team's going to look a lot different this year. So like we're saying, Izzo doesn't like the portal, but he needs to use it, because you can't roll into 2025, 2026 with 9 guys.
We know you hate it. You got to get over it. Okay, it's here. It's now. It's not going away. I don't think it's going away anytime soon. Get over it. Just you don't have to build your entire team out of the portal. I think you can do that, but I think the portal is good to get like a win now type of player. Janai Broom out of Auburn, he wasn't a guy out of Auburn his whole career. He came out of the portal, and look at him now. So
Thomas has found portal guys in the past. I mean, Joey Hauser, Tyson Walker. Yeah. I mean, Frankie Fiddler, someone's about. They all came from the portal.
He's just got to find his hidden gem.
And he'll do it. But
he'll do it. Let him cook.
Please just get some shooting, please.
He'll cook.
Just some shooting is all I want. But
and Nick Sanders can shoot. We'll be fine.
We just need some scorers.
Yeah, his 5'8" personality on the court is gonna light it up from 3.
Leave him alone.
I'm sorry. I know Nick Sanders is one of them.
Who's more beloved, Nick Sanders or Steven Izzo?
Steven Izzo.
Steven Izzo would always have that title.
I love Steven Izzo.
I want to see that 1v1.
I'm president of the fan
Sanders
club.
would cook Steven Izzo.
Probably.
Nick Sanders actually has like some
athletic ability.
That and some pretty decent high school basketball experience compared to Steven Izzo. So.
Sorry, Steven. Love you.
Love them both. But yeah, we're gonna move on to MSU hockey now. Maddie, I am sorry in advance, because she was, like we mentioned last week, she was covering the tournament.
To put more salt on this depressing.
Yeah, I know. I mean, the longer we talk about this, the more likely I'm gonna cry. I mean, this is bad. But
I'm gonna go home and cry into my pillow for a while.
So if you missed it, MSU hockey lost in the first round of the NCAA tournament, which is safe to say that is below expectations, as they came in as the number 2 overall seed in the tournament. They lost to Red Hot Cornell 4-3. Cornell scored, is it right? They scored with 10 seconds left in the game.
Yeah, they scored with 10 seconds
on a power play in regulation. So they just 10 more seconds and they would have at least gotten to overtime. But Maddie, I know you were there watching this game, and I know just like we were talking about basketball, the roster's gonna be looking a little bit different this year. So kind of take me through what you saw.
Give her the floor.
Yeah, this is like I said in the notes. Let Maddie cook.
So that was. I do want to go back to that game for a second. That was only Matt Basgall's 4th penalty of the year. He has been so clean this whole year. Like, obviously it wasn't. I don't think it was his fault. I think that the trip was exaggerated by the Cornell player, and the ref was like, "Oop."
Yeah.
So it's so tough. We had a great first and second period, and then the third period, Cornell, I don't know what Mike Schaefer said in the locker room, but he said something to get those guys going, and they just pummeled us during the third period. And I think it was Sullivan Mack. Yeah, it was Sullivan Mack who scored the overtime game-winning goal, and I was in post-game. And he was talking, and he was like, I don't know, like, I've been told not to shoot those pucks that are, like, I don't remember where he was, but he was like, I usually don't. Tapped it in, and it goes in.
Like, of course, yeah.
So, yeah, of course, the one time. They have the 4th worst penalty kill in the NCAA, or power play in the NCAA.
And they scored 10 seconds left.
Of course.
You know what this really reminds me of? This reminds me of the Detroit Lions loss in the playoffs this year.
Don't.
I know, like, if I bring that up, like, this is, like, literally going to go to hell.
No,
You're adding vinegar to that salt infested.
No, I completely
It's
agree
the same
with
thing,
you,
though. Like, a young team finally got over the hump. They had a really great year last year.
Had an injury
Expectations
that hurt
were higher.
them.
Yes, expectations were higher this year. And
Yes.
lost in the first round. It really reminds me of that, but go ahead.
Last year, they were this close to making it into the Frozen Four. Lions were this close to making it to the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
This year, they lose in the first game after getting the number 1 seed in
Their perspective.
the NFC.
Yeah, conference.
Michigan State loses, getting the number 2 seed overall in Toledo, number 1 seed in the region, playing Cornell, the number 15 overall seed.
This is March, unfortunately.
This is March. But that was so tough. And we knew coming out of that there were players that were thinking about entering the portal, about declaring for the NHL. There were going to be teams that are hunted, or guys that are hunted. So Carson Dorwit's the first one to go. He gets signed by Philadelphia as a unrestricted free agent, or an undrafted free agent. That's a huge loss for Michigan State. That's huge. He's our best center. He's one of our best centers.
He got sent to Philly?
Yes.
Ooh, I can see him play when I go home.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
You took our guy.
Yeah, you're welcome, but screw Kill.
So the guys that signed to the NHL so far, Carson signed with Philly. He makes his debut on Saturday.
Good turnaround.
Joey Larson signed with the New York Islanders. His contract starts 25-26. David Gucciardi signed with the Washington Capitals, where he was drafted in 2022. He'll finish the rest of the year with the Hershey Bears, their AHL affiliate, and then we'll go to what is it called? Not summer camp.
Oh,
like training camp. Yeah. They'll go to training camp and we'll figure out if he makes the roster. So obviously Tanner Kelly's gone. He's a senior. Red Savage is gone, senior. Nick Andrews is gone, senior. So that's already 6 guys. Austin Orovets has been kind of a scratch. He's kind of gone back and forth between him and Vlad Lukashevich the whole year of scratching defensemen. He enters the portal. Well, then the news breaks that Luka DePasquale enters the portal, and we're all like, what just happened?
Yeah.
Like, why are you entering the portal? Because in my mind, Trey Augustine was gone.
Yeah,
like, Trey Augustine was going to go sign.
Yeah, that's right, yeah.
Which I didn't think he should, because he just did not have a good third period. And Steve Yzerman and Chris Draper were at the game. I saw them in the press box. Really? So they know that he did not have a good third period. I said first period. I meant third period. He did not play well in the third period. So Luka announces that he's entering the portal. That drops at like 10 p.m. The next morning I wake up and it says, April Fool's Day. Of course, April Fool's Day. Trey Augustine is set to return, told the Detroit Red Wings. So that's huge.
Yeah.
That he's coming back for his junior year.
Probably going to be the biggest news of the offseason for sure.
Yeah. Charlie Stramel is not leaving for Minnesota. Patrick Geary and Maxim Sturback are coming back. There's so many guys that are coming back. I know that I heard kind of through the grapevine that teams were interested in Tommy Ministo, but I'm not sure how that's panning out now. I think it was Winnipeg that was a little interested in him. But yeah, it was so tough to see them go out the way that they did, but knowing that and Adam Nightingale will dip into the portal a little bit, but he's got the same mindset as Tom Izzo. Like, he's not I don't know if he's not a fan or what it is. Like, I haven't asked him about that actually, but he'll just kind of dip in and grab what he wants, grab what we need, and get out.
I guess the question I was going to ask you is what's kind of like the biggest need that Adam Nightingale needs to address? If there is.
I think that our defense is I think that's kind of what hurt us, besides Trey just not having a great game. Our defense was kind of wishy-washy sometimes, but we have such a young blue line. Our starting defensive pair are sophomores. We have a junior paired with a freshman. Our extra defenseman is a freshman. And then there was two guys, David Gucciardi and Nick Andrews. David Gucciardi was a senior. Nick Andrews was a grad transfer. Super, super, super young defenseman. Yeah. So I think that maybe adding some experience there would be nice. And this is what I want. So Tiernan Chowdy's brother plays for Ferris State. He's a defenseman for Ferris State.
Okay.
He will be a senior this year. Travis entered the transfer portal. Travis, please come home. Please come home.
Travis,
your brother misses you. Your brother wants you to come home. Please come back. Please come to Michigan State. That would honestly, he's a great defenseman too. Like, he's put up great numbers. He's had a great season. He was a captain. Like, he brings leadership. Come home. Please. So that would be awesome. But yeah. So same thing with basketball. Roster is definitely going to look a little different next year, especially with the guys who we didn't expect to be signing their NHL contracts so early, which props to them. I'm so happy for both Carson and Joey for having the opportunity to leave and go sign, but it's just so tough to replace a guy, especially Carson, who's been here. Him and Nightingale got here at the same time. So he's worked with Nightingale through rebuilding this program and has won both Big Ten titles and championships. And so he's really, really tough to see go. Obviously, Matt Basgall will be back. Like, there's other guys that are in the same grade as him that will come back. But he's a really, 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 really tough loss.
Yeah. But, I mean, hockey, in a sense, is like, it's definitely different than basketball. So I would say it's arguably like basketball, arguably easy to rebuild just because of how many players play. Mm-hmm. But hockey, like, there's so many rotations and so many different amount of time on the ice. Like, these guys are only playing a few minutes at a time anyway. So I feel like you have a lot more room to experiment with who you bring in and kind of, like, Nightingale doesn't use the portal as much, like we said, but I think he has the opportunity to bring in a few guys that can definitely contribute on the first or second line and really just kind of maintain the production they had this year, because they don't need to completely revamp. Like,
no, absolutely
obviously
not.
The offense was there the entire season this year, and even if they lose some guys, is Isaac Howard still coming back?
We have absolutely zero idea what's happening with Isaac Howard.
I guess we'll forecast with that, but I mean, they've had guys like him that can produce, so I think like, kind of just dip your toe in the portal a little bit.
Yeah, so the rumor going around town right now, it hasn't been confirmed by Michigan State or by the player himself, but Caden Lindstrom went 4th overall to the Columbus Blue Jackets last year. He's like 6'4", well over 200. He's a big boy. Apparently, he's coming to Michigan State. He played a couple years in the WHL, was out this past season because of spinal surgery. Like, he had something with a disc in his spine. I don't know. I'm a journalism student. Not sure what's going on.
We're not medical experts.
No, I'm not pre-med. I'm sports journalism. So he would be huge, especially if we lost Isaac Howard. But with Isaac Howard right now, I've been reading stuff about that. The problem that Tampa is having with signing Ike is they don't have enough cap space. And Ike does not want to go to Syracuse. He deserves to go to the NHL. He's had a great season. He can play both ways. He's figured out that he can play both ways, and Adam Nightingale has taught him to do so. Like, he's been playing on the penalty kill. He's been playing on the power play. Like, Ike has defensive ability now that he did not have a lick of defense last year. So Tampa's trying to, like, figure out and negotiate, because if they can sign him now and get him in, he can be with them for a playoff run. Mm-hmm. They don't know how they're going to do that, though, which I have a problem with that, because why is Dylan Duke, like, I'm not even saying this because he went to Michigan, but why is Dylan Duke on your roster and you can't send him back to Syracuse so that Isaac Howard can sign?
Yeah.
What's the problem here, folks? What is the problem here?
Well, it's a problem until there's a chance that we can get Isaac Howard back to MSU. So
see, that would be wonderful.
Yeah, so then it's not a problem, but I think the fact that like, looking into next year, I think the fact that Trey Augustine is coming back is like I said, probably the most important season, like, news of the offseason, because I believe that goalie in hockey is the most important position on the ice.
Yeah, absolutely, 100%.
They have so many shots coming at them the entire game that they got to monitor and keep them their team in the game. So I think him coming back is really good because obviously, like, didn't know if you would expect it because the Red Wings are probably in need of a goalie market. I know they got Sebastian Cossa right now in Grand Rapids. That's come up a few times, but I can't remember if that's like their other young. If there's one more young guy.
He's the young guy that they have. But in Grand Rapids right now, they have him and Jack Campbell. So they've been a great duo back there.
Yeah.
And then in Detroit, they have Talbot, Mrazek, and Lyon.
Yeah.
So I love Trey, and I would love to see him in the winged wheel. Please do not sign. Yeah. We don't need another goalie. You're going to make me crash out about the Red Wings again. Yes,
exactly. And we don't want to dive into them because, oh my goodness, it could be a whole other topic. But
open a rabbit hole.
Yeah, but I think, like, obviously the need for the Red Wings with a goalie isn't, like, their top priority right now.
Right.
So they obviously have plenty of other problems they got to fix. So I think that Trey Augustine coming back is the right move for him, but also for MSU, it really helps. And I know that Luca DePiasco is like entering the transfer portal or whatever, but I mean, they got Melvin Strahl coming in, freshman recruit. So it's not like that is completely thinned down in that room there.
Right.
I know Strahl's going to be freshman, but
Luca deserves to go start. Strahl is a drafted goalie. He's drafted by Columbus. So he's got skill, obviously, for when Trey Augustine leaves. Probably after next year. Jake Ottinger did the same thing. He's with the Stars now, but he played 3 years at BU before going pro. So goalies take so much more time to develop than a forward or defenseman do. But Luca DePasqua deserves to start.
Yeah.
If he went to any other school in the Big Ten, he'd be the starter on their team. Like, he would start over Soulier at Minnesota, like, he would start over Scarfoni. He'd start over Turnus. Luca has been absolutely outstanding. Like, it's a shock that he didn't get drafted, but he just flew under the radar, and we managed to get him. Mm-hmm. He went 7-0 this season, had like a 1.92 goals allowed average. I don't know, something crazy like that, like a .939 save percentage. Luca went crazy this year, especially when Trey was gone. Like, he was actually playing in Big Ten games. He shut out Northern. He beat Western when they were ranked like number 4 or 5 at the time. He was in goal for the Wisconsin game at Wrigley. Like, he's played in huge games. Mm-hmm. So Luca has the potential to go start literally any other college.
Yeah. Go be great.
And he deserves to.
Go be great.
Yeah. Go be great, Luca. Go spread your wings and fly, pal.
Our chosen one. But, no, I know. I mean, like, the whole thing with the transfer portal, like we've talked about basketball for a while, like it sucks that guys are going to leave, and even like just graduating seniors. But I think the reason that programs are so good, and like Michigan State's trending towards becoming an elite hockey program, I just think like it's good to have some adversity. It's good to have some roster turnover because it proves that coaches as good as Nightingale is can reload and kind of go back and compete again. Because we've like a lot of the teams that are in the Frozen Four right now have been consistent hockey programs, like Boston College, whatever. They've been good for however long.
BU,
Denver.
The only two in there that have been like consistently kind of in the Frozen Four mix are BU and Denver. Mm-hmm. Penn State.
Yeah.
Penn State's never made a Frozen Four. Western has never made a Frozen Four.
Yeah.
So like we get a little different mix of things because BC's not in there. Thank you. Can't handle another BC Frozen Four.
Yeah, right.
Who wasn't in there last? Minnesota's not in there. Michigan's not in there. Like, you finally get a different mix of teams, and it's wonderful.
Yeah. But if Michigan State wants to sustain that success, they also got to fight through some of these challenges in the offseason a little bit, because that's the toughest part of any season, I believe, is the offseason rather than any game you'll play in the regular season, or the postseason. So, I mean, it'll be interesting to see how it all kind of pans out, but I think they're still in a great spot.
They're going to be just fine.
Yeah.
They'll be back.
Yeah, definitely. And if we're comparing this to Lions like we did a few minutes ago, like the Lions are still going to be good next year. MSU hockey's still going to be good next year. It's just like they had an underwhelming exit. It happens in sports, as sad as it is.
Sports suck. Sports are so sad.
If there's any takeaway, that should be the title of this episode.
That's the worst thing about sports is sports will break your heart.
Yeah.
I don't want to dampen your guys' spirits, but I don't know if the Lions are going to be back with the Eagles being so good as they are. So
Gosh, Luke.
I'm sorry.
Goodbye.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, the exit is that way. I didn't say the Lions are going to be the Super Bowl champions next year. I just said they will be back in contention, because we know the Eagles are like really, really good. But
yeah, we're Super Bowl champions. So.
Okay. Maddie, anything else?
My dad talking about Michigan football winning the national championship for 14 years.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, we will save that.
That's what I compared you to.
Yeah, we will save that talk for a while from now. I don't want to talk about the Eagles any more than I have to.
No, please no.
Oh yeah, but it'll be fine. MSU, moral of the story, they'll be back. But I think for the sake of time, we're going to touch on women's basketball, but I think we're going to do that. I'm going to save that for like another episode or definitely next episode just for the sake of time here. But no shade to them or anything. Just like
No, because we can touch on gymnastics next week.
Yes,
Because gymnastics is also in the NCAA tournament in Allen Park, Pennsylvania.
Boom.
Whoop, 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 whoop.
Boom. And
Go
that's coming up.
gymnastics.
That's coming up, I believe.
Yes, it's
week,
this weekend.
Or this weekend.
It's this upcoming weekend.
Yeah. So
we can make it an episode about women's basketball gymnastics next week.
woman empowerment episode.
Woohoo!
Let's go. But yeah, so that's a little exciting preview then. Nice, perfect segue into promoting our next episode.
Yeah, I'll make sure to pitch that.
Yeah, there you go.
There you go.
Because I definitely didn't do that this week. Oh man, but no, it's been fun discussing. As sad as the topics are, the futures of MSU hockey and men's basketball, but it's bright. Trust me, there are brighter days ahead. We're elite programs for a reason. So
Next week's episode is going to be a lot brighter.
yes, I like the sound of that. I don't know if I can handle.
I think it's projected to be a sunny day.
Yeah.
According to
Oh my God,
weather.
Luke's already looking at the weather for
So,
next Wednesday's pod.
I think a lot can
That's
happen
how
in
you
7
know
days,
that.
but I
Please,
hope
please
so.
be sunny.
Please.
That's how you know we're back.
You know what? Even if we have to talk about women's basketball getting destroyed by NC State, at least it's bright out.
Yeah. You know what? It makes it so much better if it's sunny outside, even though we are in a
Screw the men's basketball team. Screw hockey. Next week is going to be all about the gymnastics and women's basketball. It's going to be a sunny day. We're going to be really happy.
Yes. We're going to try.
Not dour and sad like we were today.
Oh my God, I am never more excited for a podcast episode now. But yeah, that'll do it here today. Thank you guys for tuning in as always, and thank you Maddie and Luke for joining me alongside the sports work table, not round table. But yes, we'll see you guys next week to talk positive MSU sports. Sounds good.
Bye.